Hello, this is our Rats, and I'm going to share my game with former world champion Tigran Petrosian. This game was played in a simultaneous exhibition March 14th, 1982, probably before a number of you who are watching this were even born. It was played in Southern California. He played about 40 games, and Petrosian was quite the interesting character. Unfortunately, he'd passed away at the young age of 55, and just barely 2 years after this game was played. I got him to autograph the score sheet after and a book of his best games. I don't know what either are worth. I guess it depends on what somebody's willing to offer me for them. I don't know if they're for sale or not. Well, anyway, very, very entertaining person. He answered a bunch of questions through a translator beforehand, and then he proceeded to play very, very quickly. I couldn't believe how quick this man moved around, and eventually I'll share my game with Boris Spassky, who was quite the opposite. I got to play Spassky too, and Petrosian just hurried. He's just going from one board to the other, and he was having some incredible results in his simultaneous. As I understand, somebody said he'd just come from Massachusetts, and he played about 45 games, and he won 44 of them, including 4 out of 5 against international masters. And but he had the advantage. He knew who was really, really good, and he knew who the international masters were. They were identified to him in advance. Now, we didn't give him such luxury in our games, who was who. We kind of set up murderer's row for him in our territory. Let's see. So I recall I had a future FIDE master on my left and right. They were both probably FIDE master strength at the time, but the title was just barely coming into existence. I think it took a few more months after this for them to finally recognize it. And then I remember one other player who was a solid 2100 player. One of the FIDE masters won the game. Petrosian just blundered his queen for a rook. He just played queen takes rook and thought the rook was hanging, and lost his queen and resigned. And then another good friend of mine on my left managed to get a draw with him, but he certainly had to work for it. I don't recall how that game went. And my other 2100 friend lost pretty badly. How did my game go? Well, you're going to see. Kind of interesting. I'm glad to have played it. We'll just go ahead and start going over the moves. Okay, he's black against him, of course. Masters almost always play a simultaneous where they're white because they don't want to play against the junk that that the players will throw against them. And as I said, this guy is so fast. I mean, he was just reappearing at the board every second, it seemed, and he had about 40 games. So you'd be surprised how quick this thing went. And I don't really know theory on here. I looked this up after and found it was all book, Knight A4, and I really get this bad game here in a hurry. Just watch what happens. It's just brilliant, the opening theory that he knows that he can recall on. Can you believe that black's going to be just stewed here in a matter of moves? Okay, watch what happens. Okay, D5. It looks like a logical move. If white takes, black retakes on D5 with his knight and has a blockaded, isolated pawn. But Petrosian has this little trick here, and you'll want to see this because it's nifty. Caught me by surprise. C5. Okay, what do I do? Well, wow. At first glance, it looks like it just gets him in some trouble, but no, it doesn't. The idea would be that if he takes, I have a target to play with. But watch what happens. He's just an amazing player. A3, and this is all in the book, if I recall. And suddenly he takes back with the knight, and he's got this dominating knight right there on the board. And my queen side just suffers immensely after this, and white just carries on with an advantage, and I do my best to survive. Well, I don't mind trading that bishop off for a knight if he'll do it, but that's just a wonderful knight. Petrosian actually favors knights over bishops, so he's not about to get rid of that if he doesn't have to. So what can I do? I'm just smothered here. I've got to figure out a plan, and I'm not going to really analyze all the continuations out. I'll just kind of run through and see what happens. I'm just surviving. I haven't lost any material. He's got this dominating knight and a queenside pawn majority. That's what he's got. If I can neutralize the pawn majority, I got some chances here because he does have an isolated pawn on D4. But white's just way ahead in development. I still haven't moved my queen rook and my queen knight. They're stuck, and they're not moving yet. He had some tricks there. He's threatening knight takes e6, so I got to get the queen out of there, and he just keeps improving his position. I mean, that knight is just entrenched. How am I going to get rid of it? I'm not. Okay, so anyway, bishop a6. Just try my best. Get some exchanges. Well, that forced him on to a square the color of his bishop, so it's good and bad. Now my bishop goes back to being a horrible piece, and his pawn majority is just rolling up the board. So it looks like I'm getting crushed here. I am, but I'll do what I can. Just keep playing. What can you do? Keep playing. And now it's down to a 1-on-0 pawn majority, and I've got it blockaded. So it looks like I'm kind of okay, but he's the grandmaster, and everything he's doing, he just does on instinct. And like I say, he's just going around every 30 seconds. He's back in front of my board, and people are dropping like flies. We're on move 20. A friend of mine lost his game in about 17 moves. I can't remember how quick, maybe 12, anywhere from 12 to 20, and offered to pay him again just to play again. And Petrosian refused him. He just wanted to get the games over. He could have made it, I think it was pretty inexpensive at the time. I think it was $30 to play him, so Petrosian could have pocketed another $30, but he didn't want to. He just wanted to get the games going. So, and then somewhere through here, the players he's beating, they're starting to drop, and then he's back at your board even faster. That's one of the crazy drawbacks with these simul's, was the master finishes games off, he's reappearing at your board, and in effect the time advantage you have is becoming less of one. So he just keeps improving his position. Double up the rooks on the open file. Look at this, my queen bishop is still not developed. I don't even have any good squares to put it. Don't even have any squares to move it to. He just takes it. I guess my queen rook is finally developed only because the file opened up. But I'm just trying to hang on. I don't know, knight b6 is possible here. I guess I thought maybe if I can trade enough pieces I can survive this and get... he just happily takes. Now he's off the open file, but he's behind his pawn, so he's done this well. What do I do? I mean, I'm just in trouble. Well, I've got the pass pawn blocked for what it's worth. But look, now his other knight comes to play. It's not bad enough he has one knight killing me. Now he's got another one. So all I can do is just try to hang on, and that's what I keep doing. I just keep hanging on. So here I try to trade off one set of knights, or both of them. Will you take them both? Well, he doesn't. He does one. Now I'll happily get rid of my ugly knight, ugly bishop, and he obliged me. So thank you. He's the one that likes the knight versus bishop, so now I've got his endgame against him. But we all know that a bishop is preferable to a knight, but maybe not so much in this position, but then maybe so. He's got the pass pawn, and I've given up the blockade of it, so it just goes up, and now it's just a killer in my position. And now look at it. What do I do? What do I do? I just keep playing. That's all I can do. And he just keeps improving the position of his pieces. I get my king over. And now he's setting up, parking a rook on c8 where I can't do anything, and I'm even more tied up. I mean, he's just using expert technique against me. Not expert, grandmaster technique. He's just doing it by the book, and I'm just basically stewed. But anyway, I admit it. I'm in trouble, but I just keep trying. That's all I can do. If I can trade off enough pawns, maybe I'll get to a position where he can't beat me. Trade off all the pawns and sack my knight for that last one on b7. Anything can happen. You never know. I just got rid of 2 more pawns, and now I have a pass pawn. What can I do with it? Anything? Okay, well, probably not. His king will get closer, and he's controlling d3. He will be in a moment, so there's really no use in pushing it. So I just, like I say, try to hang on, and don't quite understand h6, but that's what I played. And now knight b6, trying to chase that rook out of there, but he just brings the other one in. Now what he needed to do here was just check on c6 and game over, but the gifts of the chess gods were with me. He played this move. I guess that's what happens when you just keep playing too fast, and suddenly I have hope. Look at this. I'm on his rook, and His pass pawn is neutralized. So suddenly I'm alive. Hooray. Okay, so he takes and takes, and he kind of scowled in disgust, but he kept playing. But I'm okay now. I've survived. So I'll just show you the remaining moves. Here's another clever move. Go ahead, take my bishop, he says. Well, obviously I can't take his bishop because his pawn promotes, right? So I shoved that one up, pawn up, and he shoved that. Now I still can't take his bishop, but now I have to do something here. I can't just shuffle my king back and forth, otherwise maybe that pawn will become a threat again. And now I take his bishop, and I've got to be careful. I can either go to D8, B8, or do what I did. And look at this. Here I'm a piece ahead, and he's the one with the winning chances. Typical world champion chess. We have no chance against these guys unless we can raise to their level. So, as you can see, I'm surviving. I can't win, but I can draw. And that's what happened. He took here, and he looked at me, and he didn't say draw, but he looked at me and made a facial expression that said, "It's a draw." And I just nodded back, and he smiled. I shook his hand, and I got my lucky draw with the world champion, or the former world champion. As I said, I also played Spassky, and that's a whole nother story. And I'll upload that one of these days. I just have to find the score sheet. I know where it is. I just have to find it. You know, when you have hundreds and hundreds of these score books, you don't always know where they are right up front. But I'll find it. Well, anyway, I hope all of you get to play world champion someday. I hope all of you can beat them in a simul. If not, take a draw. They're not bad. I can say that I drew one of the greatest players of all time, and I hope you can too. Anyway, thank you so much for this time. I hope you enjoyed my little game with the former world champion, Tigran Petrosian. Take care.